Oh.
Hey, where do you think you're going? I'm assuming you heard the news about Dakota Kai being released from WWE.
Hey, Comer, Alexa. Yeah, I just saw the news. I'm pretty bummed out, to be honest.
I know you are sad your dream woman was released from WWE, but it's not the end of the road for her, and you have a new woman's figure to review today.
Yeah, I know. I'm just feeling a little down. Don't really feel like doing a review right now.
Listen to me. You need to keep your head up, change your panties, and review this figure. Women's wrestling figure fans need you too. You love women's wrestling and love Bianca Belair.
You know what? You're absolutely right. I mean, yeah, I'm in love. Love Dakota Kai. But this could be just the beginning of so many more life and career opportunities that are going to open up for her now. And no matter what, I'm always going to be her biggest supporter. So you know what? I'm going to review this figure, chip up, and I'm going to be positive.
That a boy, Mayor Aaron. But don't get too positive. No matter what she does next, there's something that will always remain the same.
Wait, what would remain the same?
The fact that you have virtually no chance at dating her.
And I'm sad again. Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now before we get started on today's review, I just want to throw some brand new news out there, and that's that if you head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV, you'll save 10% on your next order. So I'm super stoked, super excited. I would have never expected to get a coupon discount code, but I have one now. So next time you order any women's wrestling figures or any figures at all from Ringside Collectibles, make sure to use discount code LJV and save 10%. Now that I got that shameless plug out of the way, let's talk about today's figure we're going to review, and that's Basic Series 131 Bianca Belair. Now this is a very interesting one because this figure out of the rest of the set was delayed by the manufacturer a couple weeks. Now, I had my ideas that they may make improvements from the prototype images we saw, but from what I see now, I don't really think they did. So either way, let's take a closer look at this figure, break it down, and at the end do a comparison between this figure and all of Bianca's figures so far by Mattel. So let's dive right in. Alright, so starting off with the packaging here. Now, I have mentioned many times before that I am a huge fan of this new style packaging as far as the basics go. I think it's a really clean look and really pops and stands out. So no different here. I really like it. We got Bianca's name in the corner. We have an image of Bianca, and it kind of really highlights a glaring issue with this figure that we'll cover later, and that's that obviously she has a sparkly top on in the photo, and we don't get anything close to that in the top, but we'll cover that later. We have the series up in the top there, and on the back, we have the rest of the line. And then we have a nice image of Bianca. Now we have her signature move there. And we also have her classified as a powerhouse. So let's open it up and take a closer look. WWE Basic Series 131 Bianca Belair. This attire is from the October 30th, 2020 edition of SmackDown, where Bianca would come out victorious in a triple threat match with Billie Kay and Natty to secure a position on the SmackDown team for Survivor Series. Alright, some overall first impressions of this figure. They're not good, y'all. I'm going to be completely honest and open with y'all. I'm extremely disappointed. Now, we are going to take an up-close look at this figure, part by part, piece by piece, and really give y'all an up-close look at it. But just looking at it from afar here, this is a huge disappointment. Now, this was delayed multiple weeks after the rest of Basic 131, and I thought maybe they're going to make some changes, make some updates from the prototype images we saw, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, they didn't. They really didn't. And what we get here is a lazy, put-together figure, in my opinion. And that's disappointing because I know with the women's basics, they don't always get the love and attention that they deserve. But sometimes, like the Championship Showdown Series 9, Sasha and Bayley, they showed that if they put that attention to detail and put that effort into the basic women's figures, they can make some pretty awesome women's basics. But here, not so much. They really did not do that. But either way, let's put that all to the side and let's break down this figure up close and let's start off with that face scan. Alright, so starting off the face scan here, now this is the start of many bizarre choices that they made with this figure and the parts that they used. So this face scan and face sculpt, as far as I'm concerned, is exactly the same as her first in the line figure, which is Basic Series 107. Let me put a little image there to the left. Now, it is important to note that my scan was printed on pretty wonky on my Basic 107, but from what I'm looking at when I look at it up close, that sculpt is the same as far as I know. The scan might be a tiny bit different, and obviously they added some things like the stray hairs on the forehead, and that does add to the figure. But yeah, the face sculpt, scan, and even the hair sculpt seems to be the same, which is really bizarre considering she's had improved scans, especially with her most recent Elite. And to go back to her first scan is something you don't really see much as far as the Mattel figures go. So that was a bizarre choice. But I am going to say something positive. Now with that Basic Series 107 figure, the best part about that figure is the braid is thick. She has the thick braid that is a lot more accurate in how it should be compared to her WrestleMania Basic and her two Elites. And we do get that thick braid once again. So the braid is the best part about this figure. I can guarantee that so far. And it is that proper thickness. It sounds crazy, but it does make a big difference. But there are some issues with displaying or, holding the braid that we'll get to next. But yeah, so the scan itself, it works okay. My Basic 107 scan wasn't printed on right, but here the scan's printed on pretty good, and it does resemble Bianca pretty good, so I'm not going to complain too much about the scan. I think it really does capture her beauty. She has a more serious look, and I really do like that they have like the extra hairs there. That's a nice little inclusion, and also the silver painted ponytail scrunchy type thing there, so that's really cool. But yeah, like I said, it's just bizarre to me that they would backtrack and go to her first scan when she's had so many other ones really so far, and she's had some improved ones. Now that being said, let's move on to the attire. Alright, so moving on down to the body sculpt and the attire. Now this is where that disappointment really sets in. And boy, is it disappointing. I mean, it's almost infuriating with how little effort was put into this figure. There's little details that they could have added that would have added to the figure, made it a little better, but they just omitted them completely. So let's talk about them here. So starting off with her body sculpt itself, okay. She has a muscular midsection there, and that's great, but she appears to be missing her belly button. It kind of does look like she has one here, but it's really hard to tell. I mean, it is important to note that it is an improvement over the torso they used in her first in the line figure. This is more muscular, more fitting to her, but it does appear to be missing a belly button. But I can get past that. Now, there are some things I just can't get past. Now, let's start off with those hands. We have an open hand in that left, and on the right we have a closed fist. How are you supposed to display her holding her braid? I mean, if you display Bianca Belair, you want to display her holding her braid, right? And here the only way to do that is to move the braid to the other side, which it's not supposed to be moved to really. It's definitely meant to go over on this shoulder. You have to move it over here and use that open hand to hold it. Or you could have it kind of come across in the front and hold it like that, but it's kind of tricky to get it to stay in that open hand. So why we didn't get a semi-open hand, like a C-grip almost, or a semi-open fist is beyond me. I don't understand. This would be the one figure that absolutely needs that, and they didn't do that, and that just sucks. And then to finish out with the body sculpt choices, the bizarre choices I should say, is they once again went with those long, skinny Kermit the Frog legs, which Bianca Belair is a very strong woman. She has a great physique, and here we just get Kermit the Frog skinny legs that do not fit her at all. And the fact that she's wearing a bright colored attire really makes them stand out, and it looks silly, y'all. It just looks extremely silly. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the attire now. This is another glaring omission that it drives me nuts. So that top, this orange top with the silver outline lips, that should be a sparkly metallic type color, and that they could have got away with it if they just added a metallic paint to it. And we've seen as of late some of these women's figures get a metallic shine to the paint application, and I've been pushing for that for years, but there's no figure that needs it more than this one in the top. And if you go back and look at the attire from that October 30th 2020 SmackDown, the bottoms, you know, they can work like this. They were like a smooth leather type material, so that works. But the top was like a sequin top, very sparkly, very shiny. And yeah, they just decided to make it a plain orange. And that sucks because that really does take away from the figure. And that's such a small little detail that you think wouldn't cost a whole lot of extra money just to add and would have made a big improvement. But they didn't do that here, so we just have a straight plain orange painted on top. We have the silver lip outline. And then in the bottoms here, they're painted on just orange. And then we have the red lips going around, EST on the back. And it's in like a red. And I have to say, I'm going to be honest with you. You know, obviously I'm colorblind to talk about it all the time. But red and orange to me is very similar. So there's nothing less appealing to me than these red lips on the orange. They just kind of blur in. It's almost like camo to me. So not a huge fan of that. But yeah, she has orange armbands painted on. And then she has silver boots, which work fine. You know, it's very accurate to that night. Now, to point out a couple positives, she does have her wrist tattoo on this basic. She has a shoulder tattoo. It looks like she's kind of supposed to have one over on that side, but it's right at the seam, and it's all sloppy and didn't turn out right. And then on their back, she has lips going up, the lips at the top, and Bianca. So the tattoo detail is nice, minus that shoulder where the tattoo kind of disappears. But yeah, boy, this was almost infuriating looking at the attire and body sculpt here, because it's like, this is Bianca Belair. You have a chance here to have a woman released in multiple lines throughout the year, which I've been pushing for a while. I think her, Becky, and Sasha are prime candidates. And here we go. We get a brand new Bianca basic, and this is in her Tennessee Volunteer orange attire, and a big swing and a miss due to laziness, in my opinion. Okay? So the legs are too skinny. The fact we don't get a hand that can really hold the hair too well, that's a disappointment. The top not being a metallic orange, or at least sparkly or shimmery, is a huge, huge letdown. So yeah, I don't think I've ever been more disappointed in a figure review on the attire and body sculpt, just to be honest with you, but that's what we're dealing with here. Alright, so next up I wanted to do a little side-by-side comparison of all of Bianca's figures released by Mattel so far up to the time of this video, so you can kind of see them all next to each other and figure out which one might be for you. Now, with that being said, I first and foremost want to say that I am so happy and grateful that we have gotten 5 figures of Bianca, with more to come. And I've said this many times in the past that I wish there was a female superstar that they would include in multiple lines in one calendar year, because we've never really got that. And Bianca's a prime candidate. I mean, 2022 is looking pretty good. We've got Elite 91, and we also got Basic 131. So hopefully we get more Biancas throughout the year, because I really do think they should put a female in multiple lines in a year like they do Roman, like they do Drew, and I think Bianca would fit right in there. So taking a look at all these figures, on the far left, we have her first in the line figure with Basic Series 107. Then we have Elite 81, her first Elite. Then we have the WrestleMania 38 Basic, Elite 91, and then obviously that Basic 131. So these are all pretty dang different, pretty drastically different as far as attire goes and looks go. But I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Which Bianca do I think is the best? It's hands down not even a close competition here. Elite 91 here is the best Bianca in my opinion. She has removable earrings. She comes with sunglasses. SmackDown Women's Championship, and the attire is just gorgeous. It's beautiful. Is her midsection muscular enough? Does she have that physique that she should? She does not. But I do think it is the best Bianca. But overall, they definitely have not given us a perfect Bianca figure. Now, it took them a long time to do that with Sasha, and I still don't think she has a perfect figure, but that Elite Series 83 is pretty spectacular, and even that most recent basic in that Showdown 2-Pack Series 9 is excellent. So hopefully we get a Bianca that we can call excellent in the future, but right now we don't really have that. But I do think that Elite 91 is by far the best one. So if you're looking to add one Bianca to your collection, definitely go with Elite 91. Now, looking at all these as a whole, like I mentioned before, that Basic 107 and then Basic 131 seem to have the same scan. Mine's printed on a little off there, as I've said, but the scan and sculpt seems to be the same, and the hair seems to be the same. And I do think that these two figures on the end here, there we go, they have the most realistic braid, and it's the thickness that it should be. But where the figures really lack is the body sculpts and the attires. Now, when I have them all lined up, it is important to note that this WrestleMania 38 Basic and also this Basic 131, they don't stand very good at all. It drives me nuts. The fact that they've stood through the whole time of me talking is amazing because they don't stand good. And I think it's because the head sculpt with that braid coming along back makes it a little back heavy. So it's you almost have to hunch them over. But just looking at them all side by side, this Basic 131 does kind of give you the overall height of Bianca, I guess you could say. You know, it's definitely the tallest of them all, and I do think Elite 81 and Elite 91 is a little too small. But, yeah, I mean, if I had to choose the worst Bianca, I would actually either go with Basic 131 or go with that WrestleMania Basic because that is also missing pretty key deco with those stripes in the front of the pants. So, yeah, it's kind of a toss-up. You know, you can decide which one's for you. But in all honesty, if you're looking to add one Bianca to your collection, 1000% go with Elite 91. I think Elite 81's a lot of fun. It does come with sunglasses and a little entrance jacket. But yeah, so here they all are side by side. You can kind of make your own judgments and make your own opinions yourself. But I just wanted to show you them all right next to each other. And here's one last look at WWE Basic Series 131, Bianca Belair. Alright, so just a quick reminder that my basic scoring scale is in its own scale, separate from my elite scale, unrivaled, unmatched, and so on, so just keep that in mind. Now, that being said, I give WWE Basic Series 131 Bianca Belair an overall score of a 4 out of 10. This figure is below average and disappointing in my opinion. Now, I've been known to give really generous scores to figures, but here I can't help but be let down. There were so many corners cut, and so many details not included that would have made this figure better. That WrestleMania 38 Bianca infamously had the missing stripes on the pants, which was a head scratcher. But here we're missing even simpler deco hits. Such as that top. That top is just a plain orange. It needs to have some kind of sparkle or shimmer or shine to it. And we don't get that, and it's weird. And the fact that we got these long skinny legs again is weird. And the fact that we get the head sculpt and scan from her first figure in the line is weird. Everything about this figure is just bizarre and head scratching, especially because it was delayed by Mattel, by the manufacturer, for a few weeks, separate from the rest of the figures in 131. So I thought maybe they'd make some improvements. Nothing. I mean, this looks just like the prototype images, if not worse in my opinion. And I am going to say that I'm a huge fan of Bianca Belair. You know, I think she's the future of women's wrestling. She embodies what LumberJillville is about, honestly. So maybe that's why I'm a little more critical on this figure. But yeah, this is just a huge letdown and a huge disappointment. And there are literally so many other Bianca Belair figures out there better than this one. And that shouldn't be the case. You'd think the most recent Bianca figure should be the best, but we went back a couple steps with this. So this is a letdown to me. To me, it's below average. And the reason that it isn't lower than 4, it got an extra half point or so, is because even though they reused the same scan and sculpt from her first in the line figure, they did make little improvements like the little hair, the little stray hairs on the forehead. And I actually prefer that braid compared to all her other figures. Even though that's a small little detail, at least I like the braid on this figure because it is thicker compared to her other ones. But yeah, I'm extremely disappointed by this figure, y'all. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. So that's what I got. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. For a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Also, make sure to head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV when you're choosing your shipping options to save 10% on your next order. Now, that being said, there's a lot of exciting women's wrestling figures coming here very soon, so I can't wait to review those. Have a great night, y'all.